The narrative of Moby Dick begins with an invitation to consider the profound and often overlooked significance of the whaling industry. Through the perspective of Ishmael, a sailor seeking solace in the vastness of the ocean, the text establishes a clear theme. The sea is a space of spiritual and existential discovery, far removed from the constraints of land-bound life. Ishmael's desire to go to sea is not merely a professional choice, but a philosophical reaction to the melancholy and confinement of land-based existence. He describes the ocean as a mirror for the ungraspable phantom of life, suggesting that the human attraction to water is a fundamental, almost spiritual, instinct. By rejecting the roles of passenger or officer, he embraces the humble, labor-intensive life of a sailor, viewing the inevitable hardships of the forecastle as a leveling experience that exposes the shared, transient nature of all human toil. The selection of a whaling vessel, specifically the Pequod, is framed as an act of predestination. Despite his belief in free will, Ishmael acknowledges that the fates, acting as stage managers, pushed him toward this particular voyage. His curiosity is piqued by the figure of the great whale, a creature so massive and mysterious that it commands his attention far more than any conventional terrestrial pursuit. His journey is an exploration of both the physical world and the internal landscapes of the soul, driven by an everlasting itch for things remote. Of two worlds. Upon arriving in New Bedford, Ishmael finds himself in an environment where cultural boundaries blur. His introduction to Queequeg, a heavily tattooed harpooner from a remote island, serves as a pivotal moment in the text. Initially frightened by Queequeg's appearance and his strange pagan rituals, Ishmael undergoes a profound shift in perception. Through the shared intimacy of sleeping arrangements and a heart's honeymoon of friendship, the narrator learns to discard his prejudices, finding in the savage a companion of greater integrity than many of the civilized Christians he has encountered. This relationship redefines Ishmael's understanding of humanity. He realizes that outward appearances and religious dogma are irrelevant when compared to the universal capacity for kindness and loyalty. Queequeg's devotion, symbolized by the sharing of his material possessions and his willingness to risk his life to save a drowning man, highlights a sense of mutual humanity that transcends geographic and cultural divisions. The two men form a bond that is both practical and deeply emotional, anchored in a mutual respect for the dangers of their chosen profession. Hajj. As the Pequod prepares to depart, the text introduces a sense of foreboding. The chapel in New Bedford, filled with tablets commemorating whalemen lost to the deep, serves as a stark reminder of the mortality inherent in the trade. Yet, rather than deterring Ishmael, these monuments inspire a sense of defiant immortality. He posits that the body is merely a shell, the lees of my better being, and that the pursuit of the whale is a noble, if dangerous, endeavor that justifies the ultimate sacrifice of the self. The ship itself is described as a cannibal of a craft, adorned with the ivory of its past conquests. It stands as an emblem of the whaling industry, a brutal, resource-driven venture that paradoxically requires immense courage and technical mastery. The presence of Captain Ahab, though felt only as a rumor, or an absent authority for much of the initial boarding process, casts a long shadow over the crew. The warnings from the eccentric prophet Elijah add a layer of psychological tension, suggesting that the journey will be anything but standard. The final preparations and the departure on Christmas Day underscore the intense, almost ritualistic nature of whaling. Aunt Charity's bustle and the grumbling, pragmatic oversight of the owners, Peleg and Bildad, ground the narrative in the mundane realities of the trade, even as the ship sails into the howling infinite. The tension between the financial interests of the owners and the existential mission of the crew creates a backdrop where piety and profit frequently collide. The decision of Bulkington to return to the sea, despite having just concluded a perilous 4-year voyage, encapsulates the spirit of the Pequod's company. For these men, safety and comfort are secondary to the pursuit of the shoreless, indefinite truth found only in the open ocean. As the ship moves away from the harbor, The reader is left with the understanding that this is not just a commercial hunt, but a profound confrontation with the limits of human ambition. Summary of core themes. In conclusion, the opening sections of the text weave together a complex tapestry of themes: the psychological need for the sea, the breakdown of social and cultural barriers through friendship, and the fatalistic allure of a life dedicated to the conquest of the Leviathan. Through Ishmael's observational lens, the whale is transformed from a mere animal into a vessel for human wonder and terror. The narrative posits that while the path of the whaleman is fraught with danger and moral ambiguity, it represents a unique form of human freedom, an unrelenting drive to engage with the absolute, regardless of the cost to one's physical existence or peace of mind.